Et si bien avec la belle, c'est lui qu'on vient de refuser. Arrêtez, femme, nos soupirs, la bonne est bien, l'autre c'était. C'est l'autre que je préfère, il n'a rien dit, mais il me plaît. L'amour est un faux de bohème. Il n'a jamais connu de loi. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Si je te mets garde à toi. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Mais si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. Thank you. Have you ever had one of those moments in life where you just knew what you were meant to do for the rest of your life? I have. I was about 5 years old, and I was sitting outside waiting for a friend to come over and play. And while I was sitting there, I was making up songs and singing them out loud, like a lot of little kids do. But I have this really distinct memory of that moment thinking, I hope someone walks by and hears me and discovers me. I guess I've always been a diva, but this was way before anything like America's Got Talent. It was just an organic desire of a little kid to be seen and to have her talent recognized. And for me, that meant singing. So I begged my parents for lessons, which they happily provided, and much to their delight, I practiced all the time. Not just for my love of music, but because I wanted to be the best. Eventually, all my enthusiasm and hard work paid off when years later I was accepted to the New England Conservatory of Music to study voice with a focus on opera. I didn't grow up listening to opera. In fact, I'm from a small factory and farming community where the closest thing to operatic singing I ever heard was the cows mooing in the field across the street from my house. But when I experienced that kind of singing for myself, I was hooked. To have such a powerful, visceral, sensual way to express myself was completely addictive. I knew I'd found my calling. So off to Boston I went to pursue my operatic dreams. At the conservatory, competition was fierce. I was surrounded by incredible singers from all over the world, most of whom wanted performing careers, and the majority of whom were young women. The female singers at the conservatory were told things like, if you don't make it by the time you're 28, you can forget about it. You'll be too old, and you'll never have a chance. I just took that as fact, which added a whole other layer of pressure. Because now I wasn't just competing against other singers. As a young 20-something, I was racing against the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Nod your head if you've ever felt that kind of pressure. It's intense, right? But I wasn't deterred. I wanted to be an opera singer. That's why I was there. I was in it to win it. So I worked even harder, and again, I practiced all the time. But instead of excelling, I started to struggle. What had once felt free and easy in my singing started to feel tight and restrictive in my jaw and in my neck. I felt like I had a vice grip on my throat, which of course impeded my singing. But I knew my voice was in there, and I knew if I could just get it out, I'd be okay. So I kept going. I hired vocal coaches. I took acting and dancing lessons. I did the Alexander technique for my posture. I even went to New York and worked with a world-renowned breathing specialist who worked with emphysema patients. I did everything I could think of to become a successful opera singer. And of course, I auditioned for anything I could get my hands on. Finally, after years of hustling and grinding, I landed a contract with a major opera company. I was offered a position in the professional chorus of the Boston Lyric Opera. And even though it wasn't a lead, I was thrilled because I thought this was going to be my big professional stepping stone. But instead of having my breakout moment in true operatic form, my dreams came crashing down. It was during a production of The Magic Flute. And the director had placed me front and center on the stage, closest to the orchestra. Only I wasn't standing there singing my debut aria. He had placed me seated on the ground with my back to the audience. And standing directly in front of me was the lead soprano singing her aria right over the top of my head. At that moment, I knew I was done. I had given my all. And all it got me was sitting at the bottom, looking up at someone else singing my dream. I felt like an abject failure. So I accepted defeat, I exited the wings, and I left my operatic dream right there on that stage floor. I went on with my life. What else was I going to do? I started a business as a personal brand strategist, and I raised my beautiful family. But deep down, I kept feeling like I was the understudy of my own life. I kept waiting for something to happen. Well, something did happen. The pandemic happened. You know, there's nothing like the threat of eternal lockdown to force you to get really honest with yourself. I knew it was time for me to sing again, but I knew it had to be different this time. I promised myself I would figure out how my voice wanted to be sung. I wasn't going to try to sandblast it into perfection again. So I swallowed my ego, I found the right teacher, and I gave myself the time and the space to really listen to my voice, to my body, and to my heart. And wouldn't you know it, singing got fun again. This big warm sound started pouring out, and I started having more freedom and playfulness in my performances. And then I made the most important decision of all. I decided to stop waiting for anyone else to place me front and center. And I started acting like a diva who knew she was worthy of the spotlight. I decided to create my own magic. So last year, I launched my first one-woman show called Women Behaving Badly. Because what's more improper than a woman who's unafraid of her own power? Am I right? Yeah, you know I'm right, right? But this message isn't just about singing, and it's not just for women. It's for anyone who's felt like they failed, when really you just believed the wrong things. We've got to let go of this limiting mindset that tells us I'm not enough, and embrace the powerful mindset of a diva that says, I'm more than enough. I deserve to be here, and I'm excited about sharing my gifts with the world. Because a true diva mindset isn't about perfection, and it's not about being the best. It's about choosing yourself first and creating success on your own terms. We are all conditioned from the time we are little to be good people. But we don't want to just be good. We want to be great. But we have this internal monologue that says, oh, if I can just be good enough, then I will be great. But greatness doesn't ask us to be good. Greatness asks us to be brave. It asks the diva in each of us to be audacious enough to choose ourselves first. And I get it. Choosing yourself first can feel really scary. It can feel wrong because society tells us, don't be too full of yourself, don't be selfish, don't brag. And to women especially, it says, be pleasing, not powerful. But being powerful is extremely pleasing. What's more magnetic than seeing someone fully embodied standing confidently in the spotlight? We don't go to see our favorite artists cower at the mic. We go to watch them strut their stuff on stage, because when we see them fully expressed, we can claim that for ourselves. So if you have ever held yourself back in any way, I want to share with you how you can break free of that not enough box so that you can create your own unapologetic, audacious success. Because we all deserve to feel like the superstar of our own lives, right? Right. This is my signature 4-step formula for going from stuck and stymied to iconically unstoppable. I call it the Diva method, because what else would I call it? The first step of the Diva method is decide. Your decision is your most powerful asset. When you decide, the rest, it's just logistics. You're no longer hoping or praying, and you're no longer telling yourself that most insidious cop-out line of all time. I'll try. No. When you decide, you step over the crevasse of hesitation and you arm yourself with what collaborative university research shows is one of the greatest indicators of success. Grit, that ability to stick with something even when it gets hard. But you don't want to white-knuckle your way to your goals like I did. You want to make sure your decisions are joyful and authentically fulfilling. So decide what you want and decide that you're going for it. The next step of the Diva method is initiate. You've got to start. I'm sorry to say we don't become superstars just by sitting in the audience. At some point, you've got to get up and go after what you want. You've got to take that first step, whether it's buying a new pair of sneakers to train for your first marathon or signing up for that Italian course so you can go live out your dreams under the Tuscan sun. It doesn't matter what it is. It just matters that you get going. And we have to let go of the idea that we need anyone else's permission or approval to go after what you want. You are the approval. You are the grand poobah of permission slips. So get up and get going. The next step of the Diva method is vaunt your talent, which means show your talent. It's called show business, not hide business. At some point, you've got to come out from behind that curtain and show the world what you've got. And it can be as simple as raising your hand in meetings to share your ideas, to hiring a big PR firm to get yourself booked into national media. You've got to get comfortable with self-promotion because we live in a really distracted world. And no one's going to care about your dreams as much as you do. And here's a news flash. You do not have to be the most talented person in the room to justify stepping into the spotlight. If that were true, there'd be a long line of pop stars still singing in their basements. In fact, it's often not the most talented people who succeed. It's the people who make their talent known, who capture the attention of their audience, and then who leverage that attention into bigger and better opportunities. And you vaunting your talent doesn't take away from anyone else. Can you imagine if Mozart had said, "Oh, there's this guy in London named Haydn, and I've heard he's trying to make his mark, so maybe I'll just lay low." No, there is room for all of us. So vaunt your talent, because as I always say, you don't get paid to sing in the shower, not unless you have a really big shower and you're comfortable singing naked in front of your audience. But if that's you, I'm not going to judge. The last step of the Diva method is to ask. Sounds simple, right? Just ask. But it can be so hard because we don't want to seem greedy or demanding or, God forbid, needy, so we stay quiet. But when you don't ask, you can miss out on so many opportunities and leave critical value on the table. When I was a senior in college and I was thinking about my next steps for graduate school, my voice teacher at the time suggested I stay at the university where I was. And I was thrilled because she told me they could offer me a half scholarship to stay and do my master's. That was until I found out another singer in my studio had been offered a full scholarship for the next year. And I thought to myself, I'd like a full scholarship. So I went to my teacher and I said, "Do you think I could have a full scholarship too?" And she said, "Well, let me see what I can do." And a little time passed. She came back to me and she said, "Heather, good news. We found the money and we can offer you a full scholarship too." All I did was ask. I didn't end up going there because I went to the conservatory, but it was such an important lesson. I just asked. I didn't beg, I didn't plead, and I didn't ask for anyone else's scholarship to be taken away and given to me. So ask for the money, ask for the opportunity, ask for what you need. Just make sure you're asking in alignment with what you truly want, not just what you think someone maybe might be willing to give you. That is not the Diva way. And if you don't get what you want, the beautiful thing about the Diva method is that you just go back to the beginning. You recommit to your decision. You reinitiate and take new action. You keep showing up and vaunting and refining your talent. And you keep asking and asking and asking until you do get what you want. That is the Diva method for success. So as you can see, that disco ball is in your court. You are the dream maker. No more waiting or wishing or wondering if I'm enough. Because, as Glinda told Dorothy, you've always had the power, my dear. You've had it all along. And so have you. Your big, beautiful voice, your gift has always been in there. And you don't need anyone else to discover you. You don't need anyone else to place you front and center. You get to choose you. So grab that mic, step into the spotlight, and let it rip. You've got this, Diva. Now go get it. Here's to hitting all your high notes. Thank you. Thank you.